Hey friends and everyone, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick and I'm happy to have you here today. In this video, we are going to talk about how to implement JWT authentication with policy-based authorization in .NET 8 Web API. I have made several videos concerning policy-based authorization in .NET 8 Blazor, so if you haven't checked this out, check the video description, you'll find the link in there. Also, when we are done with this project, I'll leave the source code in the video description so you can grab it through it. I do offer coaching sessions to people who are interested in .NET 8, Blazor, WebAssembly, Web API, and etc. So if you're interested, check the video description. I have an email in there, you can write to me through it. Policy-based authorization in .NET Web API, it is a way of applying fine-grained access control to your API endpoint based on predefined policies that you've set already. This is typically done using the ASP.NET Core framework, which provides a flexible and powerful policy-based authorization system. Now, in talking about policy-based authorization, there are three aspects involved. The first one is a policy, we have requirements, and we have policy handlers. We're going to talk about the first and the second one. Later, I'll talk about the requirement, creating custom requirement. That is where we need to implement the handler. Policies are rules or requirements that must be satisfied for a user to access a particular resource or perform an action. These policies are defined in the application startup, and in this case, it's going to be the program.cs file. When we talk about policy requirements, these are the conditions that must be met to satisfy the policy. Example could be a policy requirement could be that the user must be an authenticated user, the user must be an administrator, the user must be in the user role, and a lot. So these are the requirements. So when you create policy, you specify requirements. And in an advanced one, you can also implement the handler. That is a custom handler. Custom requirements, where you implement the custom handler. Okay, so let's have a look on how to implement this in our web API. So let's create a new project. And there's going to be web API. So this is demo. So the name is demo policy auth in web API. Now I'm going to choose a location and now click on create. Click on next. And now in here, maybe we can decide to use minimal API. So let's uncheck this controller. We don't want to use a traditional controller, traditional API. You want to use a minimal one. Authentication type is going to be none. We're going to configure our own. So let's click on create to get this project created. So while this project is being created, the first thing that I need to do here is we're going to install our packages. So I'm going to, let's first build this project. After this, let's install our packages. So I'm going to unload this project. I have these packages references here already. So down here, I'm going to paste them. So what you need to do here is install ASP.NET Core .authentication.jwt bearer, identity.entity-framework core. We have entity framework core itself, SQL Server tools, Microsoft.identity-model.tokens, and system.identity-model.tokens.jwt. So these are the packages that you need to install. So pause the video and install them. Wow, let's say you are done. I'm going to reload project with dependencies. And after that, I'm going to build this project. While this project is built successfully, we're going to create our DB context class. So I'm going to add a folder in here and I'll name it as data as usual. And I'm going to create a class. And I name this class as AppDB context. Now within that class, I need to create a constructor. And now I'm here from this identity DB context, which is coming from entity framework core. Now we're going to use identity user. So we make sure we include the ASP.NET Core.identity. And we need these options too. So we need to use EF core. Now once you're done with this, let's go in there and I'll create our connection strings. So we can create our database connection string in the app settings.json. So let's go in the app setting.json, and now in here, let's add our connection string. So server to local database is policy.db. We have our trusted connection set to true, and our trust server certificate set to true as well. Okay, so save this. The next thing that we're going to do here is register this database connection. So we go to our program.cs file, and that is where we're going to register this database connection that we created in the app settings. So in here, before the app build, let's have our builder.services.add database context, and now here we specify a DB context class that we created. Then we're going to search or fetch for the connection string name that we created in the app setting.json file. Okay, now when we are done with this, what you do here is to register identity manager service. So in that, we can have the service registered down here. So builder.services.add-identity, we specify the identity user, and on the row we add the framework store sign manager and now row as well. Okay, so once you're done, we need to add the service, and now this service must be the JWT service. So here, before we do that, let's go to our app setting.json, and in here we need to specify the configuration for the JWT. So app settings, and in here we have our key. So this must be a random strings. It should be more than 16 characters, and we have our issuer. So to get the issuer, from line settings, HTTPS 7102. Let's go in there and I replace with it. Okay, so now let's go to our program.cs file, and now in here we're going to have our service registered for the authentication. So in that, we need to specify authentication service. We need a default scheme set, and we need to add JWT bearer. In there, we have this option that we need to provide. Issuer audience, remember that we set them in the app settings already. We have an issuer signing key to true, and here we have the validate lifetime. So it can check and expire the token when the time is due. Then we have issuer signing key. We get it from the JWT section. So configuration JWT and now key. When you check it up in here, configuration JWT and now key, we can get jwt.issuer.audience, and that is what exactly we are doing here. You see this? So we want to grab the value of these strings are in there. Okay. Did I say of these strings? Of this key? Yes, because a key and then the value. Okay. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and perform our migration. So let's build this project again and I'll perform database migration. It's a set and done. So package manager console. If you're not finding yours, it's found in the tools. We get package manager. You see, it's over here. So add migration. Let me make it at first. Let's wait to get this built and then create a migration file. After that, we're going to update it. So update database. So let's go in there and add filter to the Swagger so we can authorize it when we create our token. We can log in and access a protected endpoint. So we do that down here, and we add this to the Swagger. So you can see add Swagger gen. We have it added here already. So that means we go in there and I remove this one. We adding filter to this. So we add the Swagger doc, and in here we add the security definition. The type is the API key. The scheme is bearer, and the format is JWT. Where do you want to place it in the header? So we add that in, and that is all. Okay. So let's save this. Now, let's go in there and create our policies. So these policies, we can create them in here. So we have builder.services.add authorization builder. We are creating our first policy. The first policy is an admin manager user policy. So it means 3 rows combined together. It means that anyone who has a specific role in here can access this, can access any endpoint which has this policy implemented. So as you can see, it requires a user to be authenticated. We want to require admin, manager, or user. So if you're a user, you can access this. If you're admin, you can access this. And if you're a manager too, you can also do the same. The next point here, it is admin manager policy. It means user is out. And admin user policy, manager is also out. Okay, so you have 3 policies in here. And now each policy requires that the user first get authenticated. And secondly, the user must be in any of these rows. That's fine. You can actually add more rules in here, but let's maintain the 2 for each. Okay, let's add authentication and authorization middleware pipeline, and we can put this down here. So add authentication and add authorization. Okay, so first of all, we're going there to create our first, that is create an account. So if the user wants to create an account, you need to create our first endpoint. So let's clear this. Okay, so in here, we can have our API endpoint. And when you check this, we have the app.map post. So this is a post request. And in here, we have account/create. And in there, we specify email, password, and a row. So let's say if you want to create an account for a manager, if you want to create an account for user, you have to specify the row. Then the name, email, and the password to create an account for that person. And now in here, we also injecting this user manager. So when you come in here, we want to check if the email is found. If it is found, it means user is registered already. In case it is not, we want to create an instance of identity user. Then we are going to create it. After creating a return success, we want to specify the claims. For now, we have only 2 claims, the email and we have the row. So we create these 2 claims as list, and now we add the claim is into the table. Return OK, results are true, and here it tells you that account is created successfully. Now when it comes to login, what can you do? We have to log in, confirm, check the email. If it corresponds to what we have, we need to now create our token. So in here, we have map post account/login. We're taking in email and password. We're also using user manager. We're also using sign-in manager and iConfiguration session. So we can get access to the JWT session that we created in here to create the token. Now in here, we create and then you find the user. In case it is not, you want to return not found, but in case it is found, we want to check if the password corresponds. In case it does, then we want to create the token, the security key. We want to create a credential. After creating this credential, then we have to generate a token. So we specify the issuer, the audience, and then the claims. So claims here, we have the claims in database already. So we're going to get them, and that's the reason why we're using user manager.get claims. We get the claims. Then we have an expiry date. Then sign-in credential, we specify in here. Return results.OK, because it's going to return a string, and we return it to the endpoint, and that is it. So this is going to give us the token as soon as you click on login. Okay. Now let's save this and let's run this app and check it out. So the endpoints are loaded, and you can see now you have the filter. We also have this create. So first of all, let's create an account. Click on try this out. And here we need admin@admin. So just admin@gmail. Then here we need the password. So admin@123. The row here is admin. Let's click on execute to get this endpoint or this record created. Let's wait. Yeah, so you can see that we have it created in here, and these are the requirements that we provided. Now let's create one for the user too, or manager. So manager, and the password is manager, and the row here is manager. Click on execute. Created. Let's create one for user. Password is user, and row is user. Click on execute. This also created. Now let's go in there and I'll log in and see if we're going to have access to the token. So try this out. We have a user. That's user. Execute this. and we're going to have so this is the token. We can just grab this token, go to JWT.io, and now find out and see in case you have the row assigned to this or attached to this. So we are in here. So let's paste the token that we copied. And I can see we have user@gmail.com. And now check the row here. It is what? User. It is an expiry date, the issuer, and the audience. Yeah, so we have it set. And now it is a token. So we also have the same thing for the admin. Let's also go to admin. And now execute this. We have the same token. Let's grab this token. We go to the site. Then let's paste this. And you can see this is what? Admin. Let's check the last one. And that is the manager. Click on execute. We have the same thing. So let's grab this again. Then let's check it out. And we see it is still manager. So you can see that each of the user that has been created has their own row, isn't it? Yes. So we can now go ahead and implement this. All right, that's good. Now let's go to the code. And what we're going to do here is we're going to create a separate endpoint and apply these policies. So let's see, these are the endpoints. We have 3 endpoints. Each endpoint is for one policy. So when you check this one, okay, so you can see from here that we have map getting the list, and it is just returning this. Okay, so let's say this is admin and manager only can have access. So admin and manager only can have access. Now check this. We have single, and here it is for only admin user policy. So this is admin manager policy, this is admin user policy, and this is admin manager user policy. So 3 of them can access this endpoint. Okay, and you just have to specify this authorized attribute on top, specify the policy, and that is it. Very simple one with a minimal API. Okay, now let's save this and let's run this again and check it out. Alright, so let's see. Now we're going to log in. Now we have this endpoint, and as you can see, if I click on this list, click on execute, I must have 401. Yes, 401 unauthorized. The same thing applies to the rest. I have the same thing. And the last one, home, also have the same thing. Execute this, I have the same thing. Now let's log in as admin and now check it out first. The admin must have access to all. So admin at Gmail, and the password is admin at 123. Let's execute this. We have the token. We're going to copy the token and authorize the content. So let's grab this. We go to the authorize feature in here, type in bearer, then paste this and authorize this, close it. Now let's come to the list, execute. Now we have it. Admin manager only can have access. Yeah, so this is admin, single, execute this. Admin and user only can have access. That's fine. Now let's go to home. And now here, welcome. Hello, welcome home, everyone. So you can see here, everyone can also have access. Okay, we are going to log out. So log this out, close this. We're going to log in as manager. Then execute this. This is our token. We're going to grab this token in here. Then let's go to our authorize bearer. We authorize this. Then let's go to the list. This is admin and manager can have access. That's fine. Let's go to single. Execute this. And I can see we have 403, and that is what? Forbidden. 403 is forbidden. We do not have access to this. 401 is unauthorized. and our 403 is forbidden. Let's go to home, execute this, and hello, welcome home everyone. So you see, we're able to access the two endpoint, but the middle one here, manager do not have access to it. So that's the reason why we have forbidden. Okay, let's log in this. First of all, let's authorize, log out, and now let's log in as user. Execute this. We have a token, grab your token, then go to authorize. You know what to do, isn't it? That's fine, bearer. So close this, and now let's have a look. List user does not have access to list. 403 forbidden. Single user has access. Check it out. Admin user only. Now home, execute, user has access. Welcome everyone. We are going to talk about how to apply custom requirements to our policy-based authorization in .NET 8 Web API. So in this, we're going to implement our custom requirement. Now within this, this is a web API, so definitely we're going to generate token. So when generating token, we make sure we add the claims of the user, and here we add the rows as well. So the row is a claim that we add to form the token, and now when it gets to the client, we can do that. We can consume it and use these claims in showing and hiding components. Maybe this one, we're going to talk about that one later on. But for now, let's focus on how to create the custom requirement. Now, I could see that from our endpoint that we have in here, user can have access to this single or home page. But let's say this home page that we have in here, we want to make sure anybody or any user who is going to have access to this home page should be greater or equal to 18 years. That is our requirement. A person who must have access to in the form of user. Not talking about manager, not talking about admin. Talking about the user who is going to access this content should be greater or equal to 18. So if you are lesser than that, then we are not going to allow you to access this endpoint. So in such case, what are you going to do? The user must first be authenticated. Second, the user must be in an user row. And now third, the user's age must surpasses what? 18 or equal to 18. That is why we need this. Alright, so let's have a look on how to create this. So first of all, what you do here is when you check our solution, we created a project web API with minimal endpoint, API endpoint. So you can see that when you check our DB context, we are using Identity Manager straightforward here. Now when you check the properties or the properties this class has, it does not have date of birth. So we need to create an extended class, and we need to extend this identity user so we can add a property of our choice. Maybe I can decide to add date of birth, but you can decide to add name, date of birth, and etc. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to create a class for this data folder, and this is going to be app user. So this app user class is going to inherit from identity user. And after it gets inherited, we're going to add one property, and this is going to be the time. And I'm going to say this is date of birth. So I'm adding one property for now. Let's save this. We have to copy this. We go to our solution. Then in our DB context class, instead of this identity user, no, we are going to use this app user. We go to our program.cs, and that's where we have our endpoint specified. So instead of injecting identity user, hey, do the right thing. We specify this app user. Okay, so we have this. We are done. Now here, when it comes to this side, you see we are creating instance of this new user. So this means that we have to, where we have our models, we are not having any model here. We receive them as a parameter from the endpoint. And now when we receive them, we are going to create a new identity user. So here, this won't be identity user. It's rather going to be app user. Okay, so you create new app user. Then here we can specify date of birth. And when you do this, it means we have to add date of birth. Okay, so in order to make this nice looking, why don't we put this in a component in a class? Yes, let's actually do that. So I'm going to create a class in here, or maybe I can add folder to this, and I'll name this as models. Now with this, I'm going to add a class in here, and this class is going to be, let's say, register model. So in this, we need, this can be a record. So maybe here, we're going to need string email. We need string password, or let's have row first. String password, or let's use date of birth. So date time, and that is date of birth. And then we have string password. Okay, so these are the properties we need in this register model. Now let's grab this model. Let's go to our program. Then we can clear all of this from here and create an instance of this model. We need to include a reference of this. So likewise, you can do the same to the login. Now with this model, instead of using this, we're going to say that model.email, model.password, then the same model.email again for the username or for this actual email, and our date of birth, model.date of birth. So we have this. Now with this, we need to check this model.email. So we can grab this here. Now model.password, we need this one. You see? And now here, this is what we're going to do. Since we have the properties in here already set, we can use model.email for this one. Then model.row. So we have a row here, and we need to add one more. So duplicate this, and now here we can have a claim type of date of birth. So we can implement the date of birth here. So we have our claims created, and there we are. Since this is date, we need to convert this to string. Since the type of this claim is string, we need to convert this to string. Okay, so Ctrl-KD, we can save this peacefully with no issue. Okay, so that's all that we need to do. And now when it gets to this, we getting claims of user. What is an issue here? I cannot convert from identity user to yes. So it means app user. App user, that's right. Nothing. And here, identity user should be an app user instead. Yes. And that is all. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to apply migration. So I'm going to delete the old one that we did. Then let's build this project. Once it's succeeded, let's go in there and apply migration. Once it's done, we need to update the database. Yes, and it is done now. So what we're going to do here next is to create our custom requirement. So in this case, I'm going to add a folder in here. Now, custom requirement comprises of two classes that we need to create. One is for the requirement and one is for the handler. The handler is going to implement it. So it's like using CQRS. We have a handler, we have a requirement class, and we have an implementation class. That is a handler. Okay. So let's see. This is custom requirement. So let's create a requirement. So you create a class, and I will say minimum age requirement. And now with this minimum age requirement, all that we need to do here is to inherit from authorization requirement. And now we need to specify the property. So we need only year. You want to find the year. So how old, maybe the age. And I think that the best thing is to use age instead, not year. Yes. So it skipped me. I used the same year in the the previous ones. Okay, so let's say this is age. Okay, now we have age and it's inheriting from this. That's one thing that we need to do. We need to specify your parameter. And that is it. Okay, so now we are done with this. We need to create our handler. The handler is going to implement this. So let's go to the same solution. Let's right click on this, then add a new class. And it's going to be minimum age handler. So first thing, this has to inherit from authorization handler. And in that, you're going to implement the class. We pass in a minimum age requirement class that we created. So first of all, what we're going to do here is we're going to check if the user is authenticated, or if it is not, return. Because before we implement, we check for this. We make sure the user is authenticated. Aside from that, we want to check, does the user have a claim known as date of birth? If he doesn't, then return. We want to skip that. So let's say here he does have. Then what we're going to do here is we want to get the claim type of date of birth value. We pass it on to datetime since it's the string format. Then we want to check, is the age, so let me use age instead. Is the age greater than or equal to 18? So if so, then we want to set context.succeed and we pass in the requirement. Then at the end of the day, it's going to return. So if the user's age is lesser than that, it's going to return. It's going to execute this, and in this case, it's going to be unauthorized. Okay, it returns maybe green light when this method or this line of code get executed. Else, it's going to be red light. Yes, unauthorized. Okay, so that is all that we need to do in here. Let's save our work. What you do again is you go to our program.cs file. And on the handler that we created, we have to register this handler. So how do we do it? Go to program.cs file. And now where we have our registration before the build, let's register our handler in here. So builder.services.add authorization, and this is an interface. We specify in our created handler in there. Okay. So the next to do here is to implement this requirement. And in order to do that, you want to assign, or you want to check or apply this requirement to only user. Okay, user and admin. So all content that admin can access, that user can access, the user's age must be greater than 18. So in order to do that, greater or equal to, let me make this point clear. So we say that policy or o.requirement.add, we create an instance, new instance of the requirement class that you created. We pass in our age. So this is 18. So 18 years. And that is what you want the user to get up to before he can get access to this. And now when you have a look to our endpoint, we have this, from the get, we have from the home, there's a home route, and our admin, manager, user. So before user can have access to this, user must be greater or equal to 18. The same thing applies to single. You can see from here it is admin user. So user must be 18 or more before you can get access to these two endpoints. Now let's run this application. We're going to create user and I'm going to sign in and I'll check it out. So the app is ready. Let me increase the size in here. Okay, but before we do this, we have to go to our section. Let's go to our requirement handler. And now in here, we want to check here so we can put a breakpoint to this. Maybe you have the user in here, so we can put a breakpoint in here and check it out. Or, yes, maybe here we can check it. So let's put a breakpoint from this. And here too, we can do same. Okay. So let's go in there and erase an account. So we're going to create users. So let's try this out. And for email, this is admin@admin.com. The row is admin. And our date of birth, we have it already. So this is going to be, let's maintain what we have, the default one. And I'm going to say 1978. The password is admin@123. Let's click on create to create this user. So created. Now let's add manager. And the row is manager as well. Now date of birth, we can say this is 1999. So it also created. Now let's create user. Now for user, we said it is 2020. So that the age will be lesser than 18. So let's execute this. Also created. So now we're going to log in. Let's log into this. We pass in our first, let's check our admin@admin.com. Now the password here is admin@123. Let's log in. We have our token. Let's grab our token. And in here, we authorize it. So let's authorize it, close it. Now let's go to the first endpoint, list. User must have access to the list. Yeah, so we have admin and manager only can have access. That's fine. That's working. Now I want to check for single. So you can see here our breakpoint is hit. If I click on continue, now you want to check the age. You can see the age is 46.46. So it means that it's going to execute this. Click on continue, and now it's been executed. So it tells you that the user can have access to this endpoint. So admin and user only. Okay. Now the last one is a general one, so everyone can have access to this. Yes. Let's check for manager as well. So let's go to login. And now with this, we're going to make it manager. Let's log in. Grab the manager's token. Then authorize. Let's log out. Log in again. And let's check this out. So for list, manager still have access. Single, execute, we check it up. Now what is the age in here? It's 25. Good. So now this also returns success. And now, okay, so this returns what? 403. Because although the age is greater, when we check our program, there is admin manager policy. Right. So admin and manager policy. And now when we have a look to our endpoint, this endpoint that we have, single, is for admin user policy. So manager does not have access to this. So when it runs this requirement is going to pass. What are the requirement? This requirement, admin user policy. This requirement, okay, this requirement is going to be passed because the user is not authenticated. And now the row here, it is what? Admin manager. That's fine. That is when it's admin manager policy. When it gets to admin user policy, the row must be in the manager must have one of the row, but the manager's row is not found here. Although the manager shows green light to this because the age is 25. This is passed. This also passed. But when you get to this one, it did not pass. Yeah, so that's the reason why we have 403. It's forbidden. So manager cannot have access to that endpoint. Okay, now let's go in and check for the next one. The home for general one. So he must have access to it. Yes. Let's sign this out and now sign in the user. That is what we are much concentrated on. So we're going to log in. Then this is user. Execute this. Let's grab the user token. Let's log out and then log in again. So now we are logged in as user. Let's go to the list. Execute this. We won't have access because that policy, it is admin and manager only. We go to single. Click on execute. Our breakpoint is hit. Click on continue. The age is 4. So let's see. Is it going to execute this? Continue. No, it didn't. And let's see. So here we have 403 as forbidden. So when you check our policy that we created a definition for that policy, you can see that here, that is this one, admin user policy. Admin is authenticated and that's fine. Admin, no, not the admin, user is authenticated and that's fine. User is in one of these rows, user row, that's fine. When it gets the last one, does user have age greater or equal to 18? And that is no. So in this case, it won't proceed. All this must get satisfied before this policy can be utilized or can show green light to the person. So if any of these gets red light, tells you that no, this is going to work. And that's the same thing that we experience in here. So you can see that our custom requirement is working and we've been able to achieve what we wanted. Yes, so that is it for this video. I think you've learned something, isn't it? Yes, alright. So thank you so much for watching this video. And hopefully I'm going to catch up again in the next one. And till then, take care.